Let's say you look chubby right now, kind of like this, and you want to transform to this. You watch some videos, you go to the gym, and there are so many options. This exercise, this guy, that guy telling you to do all these things, and you get overwhelmed. You try some things, but leave the gym confused. This video will clear that up for you. It's going to give you the best exercises for an aesthetic body. Not the most functional, not the most healthy, straight up what looks the best. Let's get into it. When we say an aesthetic body, we mean a V-tapered upper body and a proportionate lower body. Let's get into it. Let's start with a random exercise that everyone loves to do. Everybody knows this. It's the bicep curls. Of course, we want biceps. We want big biceps, big arms. If you have a really good physique and really skinny arms, that's no good. If you have these veiny, popping biceps, that's just a hallmark of an aesthetic physique. So it is important, but even though it's very effective at building the biceps, there are just more effective ways of growing your biceps. And this is one of the biggest mistakes that people make. They spend too long training their arms with the isolation movement, which is just using one joint, the bicep curl, as opposed to doing chin-ups or rows. These are compound movements that use multiple joints at the same time and therefore allow you to challenge that muscle with much higher weight. So bicep curls go right in the middle into B tier. Next, so if you look at a chin-up, you are pulling your entire body weight with your arms and your back. So not only are you training your back, which is great for a V-tapered body, you're training your biceps in a much more effective way. You're killing two birds with one stone. It builds you thickness, it builds you width, and if you can get to weighted chin-ups, this is just the best thing you can do. I think it should be part of every person's training routine. For those of you that want to get the best result from chin-ups, once you can do 8 reps, just go to weighted chin-ups and start getting heavier and heavier on weighted chin-ups. It's a game changer. Now, you might be thinking, okay, what about pull-ups? Isn't it better to do with wider grip? People seem to think if you just have a wider grip, you get more width. If you have a narrow grip, you get more thickness. I think science has shown that muscle recruitment in the lats is not that much different. I'm gonna treat pull-ups and chin-ups as the same. They both land in S tier. Next, the barbell rows. This is another back exercise, and this one is a great exercise. Don't get me wrong. It's a compound exercise that recruits your entire back. It also challenges your spine and lower back for stability. You'll have to brace. It targets the abs and it gets the rear delts, the back of your shoulders. Don't get me wrong, barbell rows are a great exercise. But the problem with barbell rows is that once you get to a certain weight, you have to think a lot about tensing your lower back and stopping it from rounding. So what winds up happening is that you're so focused on getting the form to be stable that you cannot really focus your full mental energy and physical energy in squeezing those upper back muscles, which again gives you that V taper. And for that reason, the barbell rows land in the B tier. Next, cable crossovers. Okay, you see a lot of people in the gym doing this with the cables, bringing in the chest, getting that chest pump, and afterwards your chest is just ballooning up. You feel great, you think it's amazing. It is a finish or offer. It's what you do right at the end to squeeze a little bit more blood into the chest. But what's actually going to give you that full chest are your presses. Big, heavyweight compound presses. It's not cable flies. Think about how much weight you can move doing this, like closing a window, as opposed to pushing with your entire chest. If you're a bodybuilder, you want that icing on the cake, yes, there might be a place for it, but all in all, it just lands smack bang in D tier. So let's get on to what is the best chest exercise then, and it is of course the incline bench press. It is a compound movement that challenges not only your whole chest, it preferentially targets the upper chest, which is where a lot of guys are lacking. So you want to really be hitting incline bench with heavy weights to build up that upper chest, but it also targets the shoulders, again killing 2 birds with one stone. In fact, it kills 3 birds with one stone because it absolutely destroys the triceps, and triceps is the bigger part of the arm. So if you want big arms, you don't want to just be doing bicep curls, you want to be focusing even more on the triceps, because that's what's going to fill out the t-shirt. That's what's going to give you that full big arm look. Okay, so incline bench right in S tier. Since we're on the topic, why not talk about tricep extensions? Tricep extensions or any other tricep exercise like overhead dumbbell tricep extensions, cable tricep extensions, it's a great exercise, don't get me wrong, but without heavy compound pressing, your triceps will still be lacking. You'd be very smart to focus 80% of your attention on the incline bench, on the chin-ups, on the rows, on the bench presses, 20% of the attention on bicep curls and tricep extensions, even if you want bigger arms, right? So tricep extensions and all its variations, the machine ones, the cable ones, the standing ones, the lying down ones, I still put in B tier. By the way, if you want my training routine that is hyper specialized to building that aesthetic body, the V-taper proportionate body, then go hit the first link in the description, aesthetic body blueprint. I literally distilled this, made all the trade-offs and calculations to build a routine that is just made to make you look amazing. V-taper proportionate. So go get that right now. It's also designed so that you stay consistent with it. I'm sure you're gonna love it. Go check that out. Next, let's talk about squats. One thing I'm going to ask you is, when you actually look at a guy squatting in the gym, does he have an aesthetic body? Be honest right now. Usually, no. Are there powerlifters that look like Greek gods? Absolutely. But on average, in the gym, when you see a guy doing squats, is he aesthetic, or is he usually either just like normal looking or chubby looking or just straight up fat powerlifter looking? It is just not the most efficient trade-off for your time and effort to build that V-taper proportionate body. Squats are mostly, we consider them as a lower body exercise, even though it is a full body exercise. So we're talking about the legs and the butt, which is what we want. The quads, the hamstrings, the glutes. And don't get me wrong, squats are a heavy duty compound movement that builds the entire lower bodies. It's great. And if you're an athlete, maybe you're a soccer player, maybe you're a wrestler, there might be a place for squats, but it is just not the most effective way of building the quads and the hamstrings. And the amount of energy, the mental and physical energy that gets drained out of you as you gear up for squat day, even 2 days, 3 days before leg day, when you're trying to set a PR on a squat, it's going to zap you. And all that energy, remember, you have finite energy, is energy that you cannot dedicate to certain other leg exercises, hip exercises, hamstring exercises that will give you better bang for your buck. There you have it. Squats land straight in tier C. And before we go on to the better leg exercises and hip exercises, which I'm sure you're dying to know about, I want to touch upon the flat bench press, which is another powerlifting movement that everybody loves to do. In fact, probably 95% of people watching this video that goes to the gym does the flat bench press. The reason the flat bench is not as effective as an incline bench, because not only does it not target the upper chest as much, it's just such a chest dominant exercise. And sometimes, because the fat gathers on the lower part of the pecs, it can accentuate this droopy man boob situation. Another thing is, because it doesn't target the shoulders, you might get this imbalanced look where you have a huge chest and this tiny thin shoulders that kind of go like this, and that's not a good look, and it messes up the proportion. And people that do a lot of flat benching can have this, and it also is not as healthy on your shoulder joints as vertical pressing, overhead pressing, incline pressing, and things like this. So bench press, not a bad exercise, but it lands in tier C. Next, another one of the world's favorite gym exercise, le lat pull down. Even though lat pull downs can be good for building a V-taper because it challenges the lats, it's a machine exercise that doesn't require a lot of ab engagement, and it also, for some reason, doesn't give you that thickness full back that you get from a chin up, a weighted chin up, or dumbbell and barbell rows. And I think that's because of the way it's designed, the machine. It can give you that kind of like the wings right underneath your triceps. I also think if you add lat pull downs and you do full range of motion and you do it with chin ups or other heavy compound rows, I think it is a great exercise to add your routine. But simply because there are just other back exercises that are better at building that upper back, building that V-taper, building that thickness, I would say it lands in tier C. So what is a better exercise? It is the chest supported rows. Now remember how we said the barbell rows are great, but they require too much stabilization and it fatigues your mind and your spine. Well, there's an exercise called chest supported dumbbell rows or chest supported barbell rows that helps you do the same kind of exercise. Compound, hits the upper back, mid back really well, helps to build that V-taper, helps to build the back thickness, but doesn't challenge your spine and your stabilization and your mental fatigue and your CNS. And that is just by supporting your upper body with a bench. You can do chest supported rows, and this one goes straight into A tier. Now the reason it doesn't go into S tier is because it's not as good as a chin up, in my opinion. It's a little tricky to get the form right. A lot of people struggle with this exercise, so I would say the chest supported rows land in A tier. Let's talk about the leg exercise you've been waiting for. What is the S tier leg exercise? It is the Bulgarian split squats. An aesthetic body, of course, needs proportionate legs, and you need good quads and good glute muscles to balance the upper body V-taper. Otherwise, you look like Mr. Incredibles. You don't want to do that. You don't want skinny ass legs. So the best exercise for that, I find, is the Bulgarian split squats, because it builds you those quads like nothing else. It also challenges your abs and obliques, so you'll be working a lot of your abs and side to side balance. And it targets the glutes like crazy. If you bring your front foot a little bit closer to the bench, bend your torso forward, you really target the butt. And all the women watching this, all the female fitness people will know that there is nothing like the Bulgarian split squat when it comes to building ass and legs, quads at the same time. And again, like I said, it hits the abs, so it's just the king lower body exercise. And while we're at it, what about Romanian deadlifts? Romanian deadlifts are amazing. They target the lower back, the glutes, and the hamstring. Having said that, the hamstrings on a person, it's very hard to grow in a way that shows on the legs. You have to train them a lot. And if you're talking about building the glutes, exercises like the hip thrust are more effective at building the glutes. So while the Romanian deadlift is a very, very functional exercise, very, very good exercise, I do it on my leg days, but I would say it just goes in A tier because it's not as good as the Bulgarian split squats. When it comes to aesthetics, while we're at it, let's talk about hip thrust. Hip thrust is an amazing exercise for building the butt, and you want glutes because full glutes make your lower body look good from all angles. There's nothing worse than a guy who has fat quads and then from the side his butt is just flat. So you want developed glutes, but you don't want them too big. Hip thrust, I would put them also in A tier because while they're probably the best exercise just straight up when we talk about glutes, and if I were making this video for women, I would put them definitely in S tier. And for guys, I think it's not as important as the V-taper, as the overall proportion, just to have a fat ass. So I would put it in A tier. Let's talk about hamstring curls and quad extensions. Again, these are very good exercises to finish off. They're like the bicep curls and tricep extensions, but for the same reason, they're isolation exercises that just target that one bit. It's good, but again, if you want to build bigger quads, if you want to build bigger hamstrings, you're better off opting for the compound movements like the Romanians, like the Bulgarians, even back squats, right? So quad extensions, hamstring curls, straight in tier C. Side lateral raises. Now, when you look at a guy from the front, the thing that gives him the V-taper is not only a narrow waist, developed back and shoulders, is that side delt, the side muscle in the middle of the shoulder. For that reason, it's every bodybuilder's favorite exercise, it's every gym goer's favorite exercise for the V-taper. And let's be honest, it is pretty good. I'm gonna have to put it in A tier because we're talking about aesthetics and the V-taper matters most. Next, the overhead press or the dumbbell shoulder press. It targets your whole body. In the case of the overhead press, it builds rock solid 3D deltoids, targets the front, the lateral, and the rear delt. So it's amazing for your shoulders, and it also targets that upper chest. So these land in S tier, and they work the triceps, and they work the abs, and they work your whole body just balancing under that goddamn barbell. So if you had to choose one pressing exercise, I would even choose this probably over the incline bench press. Next, the treadmill running. Even though we have a proliferation of run clubs and everybody's going running and buying these cool running shoes and running gear, and it's all great because we had the pandemic and everyone's exercising. Dude, running is not that great for an aesthetic body. Just look at runners. Just look at marathon runners. It's not that good because it's not that effective at burning fat because you don't burn as many calories as you think and you get super hungry after you run. So you eat more than you burnt, and it's just not that great at building the V-taper or the legs. It's just look at them. Look at runners. Of course, again, there are runners that look amazing, but most runners, not so much. It's squarely in D tier. Is it good for your health? Is it good for your cardio? Is it good for your heart health? Is it a great hobby? Yes. But is it good for building an aesthetic body? No. Next one. So what is better than running? Sprinting. Because sprinting is a full body explosive cardio that is short and intense, almost like weightlifting. And it's said that sprinting causes an increase in human growth hormone, testosterone, and just look at sprinters. Look at the sprinters at the Olympics. What kind of body do they have? It's a full body exercise. In fact, it's definitely an S tier is sprinting. And while we're at it, let's add treadmill cycling, Zumba classes, straight into D tier. Next, push-ups. While push-ups are great, they are not enough on their own to build that aesthetic full physique. Usually, if you do push-ups, you have to do loads of them and it just becomes an endurance exercise. If you start adding weight and adding a weight vest, then the push-ups become really good. If you do one-arm push-ups, things like this, then of course they become better. But still, I think to target the upper chest, to target the V-taper, there are just better exercises than the push-up. So it is a great exercise, don't get me wrong, but B tier for me. And for that same reason, I would put inverted rows in the B tier. But By the way, if you wanted to build an aesthetic body at home and you don't have access to a gym right now, or maybe you just don't want to go to the gym, then again, get the aesthetic body blueprint, because it includes a body weight version of the same routine. All right, so you can just get my routine and do it at home, and it will tell you exactly how you can progress from like not being able to do one chin-up or one push-up all the way up to weighted chin-ups, weighted push-ups. So what is then, with your body weight, the S tier exercise? And we had one already, which is chin-ups and pull-ups, and the dips. Dips are amazing because they build your chest, your shoulders, your triceps like nothing else. And something about doing dips, especially if you do them deep, it kind of spreads out this area, this outer pec, and it just gives you this kind of width. I mean, maybe it's a stretching thing that makes you sit wider. I don't know what it is, but whenever I do weighted dips, I just feel like my physique just looks a little bit more like wide at the top. And of course, it's just an insane body weight gym hybrid exercise. So it goes straight into S tier. Next, farmer's walks, which are great for building the farmer forearms. Let's be honest, if you ask women what is the sexiest part on a man's body, a lot of them will say the forearms. Okay, it's actually my weakness. But farmer's walks, very good for building those forearms, so we'll put them in A tier. That wraps it up. There are of course loads of exercises. You might be asking, what about machine this, machine that? I'm gonna say, with all these machine exercises, just find the equivalent exercise that I talked about and it will just be in the same tier. Finally, if you just want my system, my exact routine that makes an aesthetic body like nothing else, then get Aesthetic Body Blueprint. First link in the description. I hope this video helped you. I'm not saying don't do these exercises, because doing these exercises is still better than not doing exercises, but there are certain exercises that are better bang for your buck, and that's what I'm showing you with this video. See you in the next week. Bye bye.